Hey, JK here, and I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me. Well guys, it is Thursday, the start of week 2, and I am just getting week 1's video out, so please bear with me. My power cord to the external hard drive that I have decided that it was going to snap, and that had all of my information, including the graphics and stuff like that. I know, back stuff up, save it elsewhere, but don't worry, we got it. I ordered a 10 lot of external hard drives, so we're not going to run into that problem ever again. We're going to start by talking briefly about the leagues in general. I'm in 4 leagues this year. I know in baseball I started in 5 and picked up another one super late in the season, so we'll see how that goes, but for right now I'm in 4. Without any more delay, I have 2 leagues to talk to you about the drafts, and 2 leagues I already talked about. I put videos out earlier today, so please go check those out. I mean, they are almost an hour long, so I don't necessarily expect you to stay the whole time, but skim through it and see what the team looks like, maybe towards the end. But in any case, we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. The first team we're going to talk about of the 4 leagues that I am in is a Yahoo League. They are the Deranged Easter Bunnies. And you'll actually see the logo is me dressed up in a bunny outfit. That's because my favorite movie is A Christmas Story, and I only watch it once a year between 8 p.m. and 8 p.m. Starting December 24th into the December 25th, Christmas Day. So I only watch it once a year, but I do watch it that entire 24 hours. It is on all over the TVs in my house, and everyone in the household knows. Do not change it. Do not ask to change it. But in any case, it was an auto draft. It's always an auto draft. So we can go ahead and look. I have them on the screen right now. So league rounds 1 through 8. Not all the picture ones that I would make, but after week 1, after I tell you the win or loss, you'll see if it worked out for me. Round 1, Tyreek Hill. Again, that's not someone I would have taken, but that's not a bad pick at all, just because my approach is usually to take running backs, which second round I did get Derrick Henry, which that's phenomenal. I don't mind that. Round 3, I did get Aaron Jones, who I think Jordan Love is going to be relying on quite a bit, especially after his week 1 performance. I do think that trying to help that young quarterback who, he's been in the league a few years, but in the same sense, it's a new offense coming in. The offensive coordinator left to go to the Jets. So in any case, I feel like Jordan Love is going to be handing the ball off to Aaron Jones quite a bit. As a handcuff, I do think it would be smart to have A.J. Dillon in case something does happen to Aaron Jones. Round 4, I got Breece Hall. Not someone I would have taken. However, you will hear in some of my other fantasy drafts that I do think he's going to be good. I think Dalvin Cook coming in and being signed, maybe put a damper on his value, especially also coming off the injury from last year. But I feel like he's going to pick up right where he left off. He's going to be seen as an injury risk moving forward, but after his week 1 performance, not too terrible, Round 5, definitely would not have usually taken Tyler Lockett, especially this early. I am personally not a fan of the Seahawks passing game, and now you might say, oh, well, what about DK Metcalf? That's cool and everything, but I think I got burned because I had him maybe 2 years ago, and that was when Mr. Russell Wilson was still in Seattle, and he had some good games, but he also had some clunkers. Round 6, Joe Burrow. I definitely do not take quarterbacks this early, which is a contradictory sentence as if you go back and watch my Party Time Party Boys draft. Anyway, Joe Burrow is coming off that injury he suffered during the preseason. I think he's going to be fine. Week 1 didn't show he was perfectly fine, but I feel like that is going to be something that we're going to put in the rearview mirror very quickly. Round 7, Pat Freiermuth. I definitely would not have taken him, only because I don't feel like the Pittsburgh passing game is strong. I'm not a believer in Kenny Pickett. I also value other tight ends much higher than him, and you will see that in some of my other leagues. I do put a high value on tight ends, just as I put a high value on catchers in baseball. So Pat Freiermuth, while he will draw targets because, there's no really one else to throw to in Pittsburgh other than Deontay Johnson, they're going to cover him. You can say, what about Pickens? Well, he, had some drops last year. They got rid of Chase Claypool, who also had drops. In the 8th round, I got the New York Jets defense. After this offseason and, looking back at last year, Sauce Gardner was definitely an upgrade for them at cornerback. I do feel like they have put a few pieces back on that defense, trying to show Aaron Rodgers, hey man, we want you. We're going to add to offense. We're also going to add to defense to take the pressure off you. So, I mean, it's not a bad pick. I wouldn't have picked him that early because, again, I don't pick defenses super early, just like I don't usually pick quarterbacks super early, and I definitely don't value defenses as highly as an 8th round pick. But in any case, that was an auto pick, and I got the Jets defense. Round 9, it was a kicker. Again, auto draft. Don't do that super early. Usually wait till the very end unless I have an opportunity to get Justin Tucker, who is my favorite kicker because he went to Texas. Go Longhorns. Who beat Alabama last week? Absolutely amazing. Point being, I would not have picked him, Younghoe Koo. I also am not a believer in the Falcons offense. We also have individual defensive player, and I picked up Jake Gervais. Just letting you know, I dropped him very quickly. He is no one I would have picked up. So, in any case, we're going to move right past that one. Rounds 11 and 12 were running backs Javonte Williams and Khalil Herbert. Javonte Williams coming off an injury from last year. Khalil Herbert has something to prove in Chicago. Had a decent year last year. They did bring in some competition. They also got rid of David Montgomery, but then they brought in a Texas boy, Deontay Foreman. So we'll see how that goes. And round 13, I am actually super excited and pleased with this pick. Jordan Addison was tearing it up in the offseason. I feel like Kirk Cousins is going to be able to find him as the number 2 receiver. Obviously, number 1 is Jordan Jefferson. But with TJ Hawkinson also being able to take some of the coverage away, Jordan Addison is going to be able to blow past defenders and definitely beat safeties deep. So definitely look for him, and I'm super excited about having him on my team. If you go to round 14, I'm not going to try to pronounce the tight end's name. Okonkwo is what I'm going to call him. I'm not going to try to pronounce the first name. But in any case, I am not a believer in him either because you have Ryan Tannehill throwing to him. Enough said. And the last 2 picks included Derek Carr, who I feel like will be suitable as a backup or maybe even a fill-in if Joe Burrow is not able to go fully at different times throughout the year. He does have a few weapons. Now, obviously, he's missing Kamara to start the year. He does have Michael Thomas back, who is going to obviously take some time to get back to a 100% full workload coming off injury from last season or 2 seasons or whatever. Juwan Johnson at tight end. But Jamal Williams is going to be the main go-to guy the first 4 games with Kamara being out. I mean, Carr isn't bad. He pretty much willed the Raiders himself the last few years. He has never passed more than, I believe, 29 touchdowns in a year, so that's not exciting. And then the Tampa Bay defense, nothing special about them. Probably going to drop them, pick someone else up, so just giving you a little sneak peek of the adds and drops. And now that I talked to you about the draft, I'm going to go over some of the adds and drops, which did take place before the first game, so they did impact the score, which is why I'm waiting to give you the score until after the adds and drops. The adds include Michael Mayer, who I'm really big on. I did just read the scouting report, and it said he was most NFL ready, so again, I value tight ends, and if he's the most NFL ready, that means he can block, he can catch, he can look at routes and run the route tree and read defenses. So him being in an offense with Jimmy G, who I feel like should be looking at the tight ends more than the wide receivers, because I don't think Jimmy G has a great arm. Again, better than mine. I've also had surgery on both shoulders and elbows, so just don't come at me. But in any case, I feel like Michael Mayer is better than Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper had his chance to make a name for himself with 2 other teams, I believe the Titans and the Falcons. Utilized him to the point where they thought he was going to be the next big thing, but was not. So in any case, I'm big on Michael Mayer. I also picked up Jason Myers for the Seahawks. While I said I wasn't a big believer in the wide receivers or the passing game in Seattle, I am a believer in the run game. Kenneth Walker III is a beast. I also picked up Michael Thomas, who I touched on with Derek Carr being able to throw to him. He will be working his way back from being labored with injuries the last few years, but I feel like he's going to be a go-to source for him. And Brandon Cooks. He's the number 2 wide receiver in Dallas, and everyone has talked about how good Dak has looked this offseason and how much he's improved since last year. I think he is going to be able to benefit from CeeDee Lamb drawing double coverage. Cooks has always been the long guy. He has been able to go deep and beat people deep, with his however many years in the league, which it seems like he's been in the league like 10 or 15 years, but I really think he's like only 29 years old. In any case, I think he's going to be a deep threat. I also feel like he's going to be able to run the short routes and make some people miss in the open field. And with all that being said, I was able to come up with a win 181 to 153. Some of the guys that helped me to this win included Tyreek Hill, who had 11 catches for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns, as well as Aaron Jones, who had 41 rushing yards, 86 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. Someone who didn't help me was Joe Burrow, who had 82 passing yards. That's not going to cut it. Keeping with the idea of having fantasy leagues with fraternity brothers, we're going to move to ESPN and talk about the Vince McMahon Football Club. I was able to come up with a win this week, 137 to 104. Now, I already talked about this league and the draft in a different video, so please go look at that to see the players. Some of the guys helped me most this week included Calvin Ridley with 8 receptions, 100 plus yards and a touchdown, Travis Etienne with 77 yards and a touchdown, and Jake Elliott with multiple 50-yard field goals made. Now, this week, my defense was Washington, the Commanders, the Redskins, whichever one you want to call them. And they only got me 30 points. You might be thinking, 30 points? That's quite a bit for a defense. However, I have the Dallas Cowboys defense, and they got me 77 points. They also put a whooping on Daniel Jones and the Giants. I also didn't start Tyler Algier, who would have got me another 2 touchdowns. The only add this week was Allen Lazard, because I really legitimately thought that him and Aaron Rodgers were going to have a decent connection. Oh, that will probably be a drop in the near future. Sticking with ESPN, but moving from fraternity brothers to best friends from back home, we're going to talk about the Majestic Juggernauts. This is another league I was not able to do a live fantasy draft with, so I will go over the picks very quickly for you. As we talked about earlier, I do not draft wide receivers super early, and I do value running backs and tight ends. So 3 of my first 4 picks were running backs. You'll see that Nick Chubb and Tony Pollard were the first 2 picks. I feel like Nick Chubb is going to be one of the top backs in the league. I think he's going to get a ton of carries, and I feel like he's going to be able to pound the rock, especially when or if the Browns are up big, which after week 1, it looks like they're going to be quite often. And of course, Tony Pollard, like we talked about before, is going to get a lot of looks out of the backfield. I think Dak really trusts him, and with Ezekiel Elliott out of the way, I don't feel like Tony is going to feel pressured to make sure he does well or make the most of his carries. And I know I talked earlier about how not to take a quarterback super early, but I decided to because Jalen Hurts is one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and I feel like with Dallas Goedert, which you can see I did pick him later as one of my tight ends, with him back from that injury, I feel like he's going to be looking at him and he's going to open it up even more down the field for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And in round 4, I took Jahmyr Gibbs. I think with him being taken in the first round by the Lions, he is going to get a Lions share, no pun intended, of the carries, or at least in my opinion he should. He is very talented, especially coming out of Alabama. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be someone who should take the reins in Detroit and be given tons of carries week after week after week, obviously because he's in my team. And the next 3 picks were wide receivers. I'll be honest with you, I'm not super excited about them. However, it was what was left after making sure that my running back room was taken care of. Mike Williams has a lot of injury history, especially going back to his time at Clemson. Very scary neck injury, but was able to come back and make the most of his time there at Clemson. Also had a great quarterback. I feel like he's going to be one of the top options for Justin Herbert, obviously opposite of Keenan Allen. And Brandon Cooks, he's going to be the number 2 option in Dallas. Dak is going to be looking his way, especially if he's able to take the top off the offense, with CeeDee Lamb drawing double coverage. And Christian Kirk, he had a breakout season last year. I feel like he's going to be able to take advantage of Evan Ingram being kind of an unknown, even though he was decent when he was in New York. And then, of course, with Ridley coming back after his offseason ban and then being traded, he won't get all the looks and targets like he did last year because there are other mouths to feed, especially with ETN being hopefully a focal point in the offense, being able to catch out of the backfield. So Christian Kirk will be a boom or bust in my opinion, but I feel like Trevor Lawrence with his luscious locks, just like me, will be able to feed all the mouths in Jacksonville. And finally, round 8, I took Dallas Goedert. I'm a big fan of him because I do feel like he's a safety blanket for Jalen Hurts, and was when Carson Wentz and Nick Foles was there. Yes, they did have Zach Ertz, but Dallas Goedert really made his own place in the tight end realm. Unfortunately, the injury derailed the season he was having last year, but hopefully he'll be able to come back strong this year. Two more wide receivers in rounds 9 and 10. One I'm super excited for. The other has a lot of hype. Drake London did well last year, but I do feel like he is going to need to take a step up. Next, Jordan Addison. They talked about how great he was in the offseason. I feel like Kirk Cousins is absolutely going to utilize his new weapon, especially having Justin Jefferson to, again, be able to take the coverage away, just like CeeDee Lamb is in Dallas. And obviously, we know he's going to be grittying all year long. And TJ Hawkinson being able to take the underneath away. So I definitely feel like Addison is going to have a great year. And Jamal Williams, he's one of my favorite running backs. He's so cool, just likes to be himself, talks about Naruto all the time. I'm not a fan of Naruto, but I do know that it is something that a lot of people are into. He's into it, so he is going to be one of my running backs at least for the first 4 weeks because Alvin Kamara is out. He had 17 rushing touchdowns last year on a Detroit Lions team that had some other talented backs in the picture. So hopefully he will be able to get some looks, very similar to Mark Ingram. He should be the goal line back. Kamara is probably going to be the receiving back, but hopefully there will be enough times that he can get to the goal line and just punch it in. I look super smart with his next pick with the Dallas Cowboys defense. They annihilated the Giants, and I hope that continues, and it probably will against my Washington Redskins. Next, Jason Myers. I took that kicker for the Seattle Seahawks again. Again, not confident in anything other than Kenneth Walker Jr. Yes, Geno Smith had a great year last year, but now the league knows about him. Let's not forget, he was in other organizations and got chances. So, it might be the scheme, it might be some of the people around him, but in any case, I think Jason Myers is going to have quite a few kicks from, 40, 50 plus yards away. They'll be able to get me some points. In round 14, I took Gerald Everett. I think he's going to continue to be a focal point in the Chargers offense, especially with injury-prone Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. I feel like Gerald Everett is going to get some looks this year. I think he's going to be someone to look out for, especially for Justin Herbert in the red zone. And I picked up Tyler Algier. He is now considered the backup in Atlanta to Bijan Robinson, another Texas man. Go Longhorns. However, Algier may very well end up taking over the number 1 role again. I'm not saying Bijan Robinson can't handle it, but it's a very different pace. I don't care if you went to school in Texas or Florida or wherever it may be. I mean, the SEC might be the closest thing. But in any case, which I know Texas is going to be in the SEC next year, starting next year. But not yet. Even though they beat Alabama. Second time referencing that in this video. So Bijan Robinson is going to be the starting running back, but Tyler Algier has shown that he has the ability to be the lead back and the capability of taking over when the team needs him to. And my last pick, Kenny Pickett. Not real confident in him. He's just a bye week quarterback. Might release him. And with all that said, I was able to pick up the win this week, 94-75. I had a lot of help from the Dallas Cowboys in that big win over the Giants with their defense and obviously Tony Pollard. Guys who didn't help me included Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Brandon Cooks, who got me 2 points, Dallas Goedert and Christian Kirk, who got me goose eggs. Sticking with friends but moving to Yahoo, I am going to talk about the Party Time Party Boys. This group of guys I am in this league with. I'm also in a baseball league with, the Kent Murphy Dinger, so please go look at those videos as well. This was my only loss of the week. I lost 103-85. Some of the bright spots this week included Patrick Mahomes, Nick Chubb, and Mike Evans. Some of the very lowly, not bright spots that were pretty much pitch black dark and did nothing for me included Okonkwo, Drake London, and Christian Kirk. And that is a wrap up for week 1. I know it is coming very late, but some of the guys I do want to tell you to pick up, even though it might be common sense. Obviously, with the injury to J.K. Dobbins, anyone in the backfield for the Ravens might be a good option. Not necessarily going to be a top option, but definitely an option with the running back position being very scarce at times. And say it isn't so, a tight end in New England is drawing attention. But it's not a mugshot this time. It's Hunter Henry, who had a game for Mac Jones. I don't know how long it's going to last, but it might be wise to pick him up, especially if Mac Jones is going to be looking his way, at least for the next few weeks. Well, again, thank you so much for watching. This is a wrap up for week 1. This is J-Cake, and I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me.